Good evening, everyone. So, today, on this day of World Cancer Awareness Day, we are here to discuss a little bit about cancer awareness and stuff related to cancer so that how we can prevent ourselves from new cancers and also how we can prevent ourselves from developing any sort of tumors. So, tumors as in cancers. So, I am Dr. Sivender. I am a surgical oncologist working in the Regional Cancer Center, and also I have been giving a lot of lectures on how to screen individuals among themselves and also how to screen people and to screen mass people and like in your areas and your community, and also how to prevent cancers to arise among common people, and also I deal with treatment of cancers if they arise in an early stage. So the main motto of awareness is to detect cancer at a very early stage. So the point you should remember is, if you detect cancer at a very early stage, what is going to happen is you're going to get completely cured of the cancer rather than a stage where the cancer has spread to other parts of the body. Cancer, as you know, has got the facility, has got the chances to spread to different parts of the body. Different cancers have got different methods of spreading. And there are few cancers which really spread very fast. There are few cancers which really spread very slow. Slow cancers are considered to be good, फास्ट ग्रोइंग कैंसर कंसिडरिंग टू बी बैड. सो कौन सा जल्दी जल्दी भागेगा, जल्दी तेज से भागेगा, कौन सा तेज से नहीं भागेगा, ये हमको ठीक से पता करना है, ठीक से जांच करना है. ठीक है. सो स्टार्टिंग ऑफ फ्रॉम हेड एंड नेक, अगर ऊपर से नीचे आए तो फर्स्ट इज ओरल कैविटी. ओरल कैविटी इज अ वेरी वेरी फास्ट स्प्रेडिंग कैंसर. Nowadays, in my hospital, if I see, there are at least for every 10 cancers, about 6 of them are oral cavity. And it is rampantly increasing in intensity just because of the common practice of gutka chewing and also practice of smoking, etc., which are very notorious to our oral cavity. So, in the oral cavity, what is going to happen is any small lesion, like a small ulcer, a small swelling, small lump, which has recently increased in size and also is associated with pain. Pain may not be initially, but eventually it may develop into pain. So, any situation where there is pain and also increase in the size of any lesion, like ulcer is a small discontinuity in the membrane or something like that, and it is increasing in size. And in situations where there can be reddishness in the oral cavity and also whitish plaques, if at all they are present, they can be present in this oral cavity. So whatever they are, whenever they are present in the oral cavity, there is a high chance that it can be having cancer. And remember, cancer, and we are also exposing the oral cavity to a lot of external agents like food and a lot of toxic chemicals like all these betel nut, smoking, etc., which will stimulate the tongue and cause a lot of factors and a lot of issues to the patient. So we should be very, very careful about whatever we are doing. We should be very careful about all the habits that we have, like what we are smoking and all. Please avoid smoking. Even if you use a filtered cigarette, it is very dangerous. If you use a non-filtered cigarette, also it's very dangerous. Anything that you use that is related to betel nut is very, very dangerous. And the swelling in the oral cavity that you see will spread to some part of the neck. It can spread on both sides of the neck or at least on one side of the neck. And once it spreads to the neck, the treatment is going to become very, very tough. Treatment is associated with a lot of risk factors. The treatment is, you may have to take radiation, you may have to take chemotherapy. So if you find cancer at a very early stage, even a small size lump, you can get the treatment done faster and much easier. Some cancers like tongue, they have got a propensity to spread very easily. They may spread very easily to the oral cavity, they may spread very easily to the lymph nodes. And when they spread to the lymph node, because tongue is a very mobile organ, so anything that can spread faster into the lymph nodes is very dangerous. As the tongue keeps moving, there is a high chance that it may develop into neck nodes in the future. So any neck nodal development and also development of these tongue lesions, you should be always very careful. And the oral cavity lesions, they spread very fast. From stage 1 to stage 4, it takes somewhere around less than a month to become from stage 1 to stage 4. That aggressive is the oral cancer. So any ill-fitting dentures, if you have some problem with where the teeth does not approximate each other properly, or in conditions where you are not able to eat food properly or open the mouth properly, please go for a healthy checkup. And getting yourself treated if it is in an early stage, it's much better than getting it late. And secondly, What I also want you to know is about the further things as you go down. You have the thyroid gland. Thyroid gland is present somewhere here in the neck, in the anterior part of the neck. And this thyroid gland, on the contrary to the oral cavity cancer, they are very slow growing in nature. ज़्यादा तेज नहीं चलते ये, वो आराम, they have got a very good 5 year 25-year survival rate is almost 99%. So in any of these cancers, we call the survival of the patient as the most important risk factor or most important prognostic factor. Like if you see for thyroid gland, the 25-year survival rate is almost 99% for early stage cancer. So even in the early stage, if you catch up the cancer, you can get 99% cure by 25 years of age. If you can follow up the patient for 25 years, there'll be very less chance of recurrence. So thyroid, on the contrary to oral cavity, they are very slow growing. They are not associated with much risks. And the only point that they have is they develop lymph nodal metastasis. When they develop lymph nodal metastasis to the neck, we have to again reoperate them and remove the lymph nodes. So here we have discussed about the common procedures, common cancers of the head and neck, commonly the oral cavity, and second common thing is what is called as the cancers of the neck. So cancers of the oral cavity are very bad aggressive. Cancers of the thyroid are very easy and slow growing. So you should not worry about thyroid cancer, and any thyroid swelling should be evaluated with the help of ultrasound and also something like FNAC. FNAC is a small needle test where a small needle is inserted into the neck. And once a needle is inserted into the neck, you will remove few cells, and these cells will be seen under the microscope. And ideally, you should take the biopsy or the FNAC from the solid component of the cells. And once when you take it from the solid component of the cells, they're going to do really well, and you get the good amount of biopsy for evaluation. Once you get the specimen for evaluation, you're going to see under microscope what is there in that. And based on that report, we will further treat the patient. After that, after we go on distally, then as you go down, you have the chest and you have the lungs. In the chest, you have the breast. Breast is the cancer which is very commonly screened, and screening for breast cancer has to start at a very early age of 45 years. And in some case, if there is any cancer that is present in running in the families, like you have a genetic cancer that is running in the families, in such situation, what you are supposed to do is you're supposed to catch the cancer. In that case, you're supposed to start screening at a much earlier age. You have to start screening from 10 years prior to the index case. Like suppose in a family, there is a cancer that occurs at the age of 50 years, the screening should start. And if there is a genetic predisposition, like if there is a genetic syndrome or something like that, the screening should start 10 years prior to the actual age of diagnosis of the index case. Like the mother gets diagnosed at 50 years of age, but then the daughter has to start screening from the age of 40 years. So there should be a lapse of 10 years before the actual diagnosis of what is seen in the index case. So hence genetic predisposition in breast cancer is very common. About 15% case will be genetic, 85% will be non-genetic. And our duty is to check these 15% genetic cases so that in the next generation we can actually screen, or we can start screening at a much earlier age. Any cancer in the breast that occurs in less than 40 years of age should be highly suspicious about what is called as genetic predisposition. That means they could be running in their families, and there is a high chance that the next generation ladies or next generation males can also get the breast cancer and other cancers like prostate, pancreas, malignant melanoma, skin tumors, etc. So one should be very careful about screening the patient, particularly in the breast. The breast also has got a very good indolent life. Like from the time of a risk factor that causes breast cancer to the time where it actually develops into a cancer, like for example, presence of excess estrogen or irregular cycles or nulliparity, that means not conceiving, or having long menstrual period days, like for about 7 days, or sometimes we have got a menstrual period of almost 13 to 55 years. That's like almost 40 years of age of menstrual cycles and all. What is going to happen in these groups is when there is excess estrogen, this estrogen stimulates the production of breast, higher chance of breast cancer, developing breast cancer in these people. So what you're supposed to do is whenever there is any risk factors like nulliparity, not having children, because you don't have children, the estrogen is more in circulation. Hence, because when there is any delivery or a childbirth, etc., there is no estrogen that is present. There's decreased amount of estrogen. So risk factor when you conceive is much less than when you do not conceive. So nulliparous, the people who do not have children, they have a high risk for developing what is called as breast cancer. And people who have got long period of menstrual history, like from a day of menarche to the main of menopause, if it is more quite a lot of time, then there is a high chance of developing malignancy. So should be very careful in screening what is called as breast cancers. Breast cancers are very uh, they're kind of indolent kind of a tumor. They're not all that aggressive in nature. Like it's not like the moment you diagnose it, immediately it becomes stage 4 or something like that. Actually, breast cancers have got a very short, very long duration. By the time they develop symptoms, they almost have about 5 to 6 years time. So when you have a decent amount of time, like for 5 to 6 years, so you can catch up the patient. So from let's say any of these inciting factors for malignancy, they affect the breast. So by the time they start their action on the breast and that action develops into cancer, it takes almost 5 to 10 years. When it takes such a long period of time of 5 to 10 years, you can actually catch the cancers at a very early stage, and there's a high chance that you will be able to catch up these early patients and start them immediately from treatment, or in fact use some drugs that prevent this estrogen and decrease the quantity and decrease the caliber, all these things. So that will be helpful in decreasing the what is called as risk, and also decreasing the chance of developing cancers in the future. So always remember, in a case of breast cancer, that the treatment protocol for or diagnosis protocol for early stage cancer, or what is called as breast cancer screening, starts of at least 10 years prior to the index case in the family. So when you start off at an early age, you should include three specific investigations. Number one is what is called as clinical self-examination, where the patient will examine her own breast, and with the help of a physician or a nurse or a practitioner, the patient will be able to know what is the lesion in the breast, whether there's anything that is dangerous or non-dangerous, and the patient will also know whether the mass is going to cause, whether the mass is actually cancerous or non-cancerous. Then, with the help of this mass, we are going to investigate further. The first will do a radiological investigation. It can be an ultrasound or a mammogram or a MRI. MRI is typically done in a genetic risk factors, like in patients who have got a genetic risk of cancer. Those are the first group of people where MRI is advised as a treatment protocol for screening of the patient. So these patients will be subjected to MRI yearly, and in order to see what is the lesion, any new lesion is developing, or if it is developing, how dangerous the lesion is. The next is usage of an ultrasound. Ultrasound has got its own advantages. Like when you use an ultrasound, you will be able to catch the cancers in a dense breast, like breasts which have got less than 35 years of age, like females less than 35 years of age. Investigation of choice in order to catch early breast cancers for screening purposes, ultrasound. More than 35 years of age, investigation of choice to catch up cancers is what is called as mammogram. So, in the genetic risk patients, people who also have got previous history of genetic cancers, for them MRI is the investigation of choice. For people who do not have genetic history, less than 35 years, you will do an ultrasound. More than 35 years, you will do what is called as mammogram. This will radiologically tell where is the present size or present site of lesion, if there is any lesion that is developing. Based on the present site and size, we will come to a conclusion that there can be some cancer in this, or there may not be any cancer in this. And then exactly from the site, with the help of ultrasound, wherever we catch, we'll be able to insert a needle, and this needle will go all the way up to the mass and again take few cells. And these cells will be investigated under the microscope. Remember, in cancer, any cancer treatment, without biopsy, you can never ever treat the disease. You need a biopsy proof to confirm the diagnosis that there is cancer. The biopsy is mandatory. You can either do a needle test, a big needle test, or a small needle test. Small needle test called as FNAC, a big needle test called as core needle biopsy. Any of these tests you do, you will take a piece of it, subject it for investigations, and after you subject it for investigation, you will also do what is called as ERPR, hormonal receptor status. And once you do the hormonal receptor status, you will know what is the cancer and you know where is it going to arise from. And once it is, you know what kind of cancer it is, because the cancers have so many varieties, so many variants. Some of them will have estrogen receptors, some of them will not have estrogen receptors, some of them will have HER2 new factors, some of them will not have HER2 new factors. Whatever it is, whenever you have all these thing factors that come up, you're going to check up each of these factors and then label and stage the disease, if at all there is any factor or any risk factor. So once they are there in the early stages, you'll be able to catch up the cancer. Most of the time they'll be catched in stage 1. So once you are in stage 1, you can treat the disease, and cure rate of stage 1 breast cancer is almost close to 100%, 95 to 100%. Because of this high rate of cure, you'll be able to get more healthy patients out, and also patients will live healthy for a longer time. All of these will be really helpful when you screen the patient. So first thing is, you should do a investigate clinical examination. After clinical examination, we have ultrasound of the breast or mammogram of the breast, or you can also have what is called as MRI. MRI done in genetically positive patients. In genetic negative patients less than 35 years, you do an ultrasound. Greater than 35 years, a mammogram. And then you subject it to a FNAC, a big needle FNAC or a small needle FNAC, based on the site where the lesion is. And based on the site where the lesion is, you will do what is called as, after you get the FNAC, you will treat the patient. If it comes as cancer, you will treat it according to cancer. If it does not come as cancer, you will just reassure the patient saying that there is no cancer in it. But never ever tell that you will not get cancer again. You can rather use the word, this lesion that where investigation do not have a cancer, but eventually rest of the breast may have a high chance of getting cancer. Remember one thing, in the lifetime of a patient, there is almost 1 in 8 out of 8 females, at least one female will be developing cancer in the lifetime, the entire lifespan of the patient. So that how notorious it is. Out of every woman around us, 8 women around us, one of them has got a chance of developing breast cancer. That common this breast cancer is. So screening has got a major role. You start screening by the age of 45. There is no genetic history. If there is genetic history, you start 10 years prior to the previous generation cancer. And then you do mammogram, MRI of ultrasound, and then FNAC or core needle biopsy. And this will tell us whether there is cancer in this or not. This is what is called as triple assessment. Triple assessment has shown 99% sensitivity. So almost all the patients whoever have got undergone triple assessment, if all the three says there is no lesion, that means the chance of you having cancer is almost not having cancer, almost close to 100%. So next in the screening, after oral cavity, thyroid, and then breast, next as you go down into the lung. Lung is a very crucial this thing. So as we have discussed with the breast, lung has got a very fast course of treatment. And remember one thing, by the time again, most of the commonly lung cancers are diagnosed in the stage 3 and stage 4. And if there is any mass that is visible like cough or breathing. So most of the common symptoms. So in case of lung cancer, they're generally not very screened. There is a role of what is called as low dose CT scan, but it has not shown much efficacy or much useful for that. Most important thing in lung cancer is stop smoking, stop cigarettes, stop whatever BDs, hookahs, or whatever it is. And also please stop, or even the filtered and smooth filtered, any of the cigarettes can cause lung cancer. In fact, if you use more filtered and smoothened cigarettes, the chance of lung cancer is slightly much more than the normal lung cancer. And in smooth cigarettes, what happens is the peripheral lung is, there is more chance of getting it affected. Hence, remember, in a lung cancer, be always careful and remember, do not. And the one thing that in lung cancer is, please do not smoke, and that is the only best method of preventing lung cancer. And if you are in a scenario like in a cities or something, what is going to, like, I stay in Hyderabad. If you're in cities like Hyderabad, we are more used to what is called as outside pollution. Even the outside pollution, there is a high chance of developing lung cancer, and one should be very careful with it. So lung, most of the times the lung cancer is diagnosed at stage 3 and stage 4. And in stage 3 and stage 4, the treatment options for lung cancer are very, very minimal. You cannot do more than what is called as uh, just tablets, chemotherapy tablets in the form of tyrosine kinase inhibitors, etc. These inhibitor tablets, they only prevent the progression of the disease. Lung cancer has got good rate of treatment only if it is stage 1 and stage 2. As you go on from stage 3 and stage 4, the survival of the patient further decreases in size. and it's very difficult to treat patients with liver stage C and stage 4. The only treatment option for them would be what is called as use of tablets, and by using the tablets, you are just prolonging the life rather than having attaining any cure in what is called as lung cancer. So lung cancer, be careful. Lung screening, be careful. Second thing is breast, very easy to screen. So commonly, if you see now oral cavity and breast, these are the two sites where you can have this thing, cure from this thing. Slowly, if you go down, we'll go down into the abdomen. Then starting off is what is called as liver. Liver, the most important factor about liver that is having that can occur is what is called as, because of most commonly in liver the cancer, कहीं और का cancer आके liver में बच जाता है. That is the most common cause of cancer in the liver. Then also you can, apart from that, you have some infections like hepatitis B infection that can cause liver cancer. So remember one thing, in hepatitis B infection, there is a, if you are already having a hepatitis B infection, the chance of it converting into malignancy is about 1 to 5%. And that means out of 100 patients, only 1 or 5 patients, hepatitis B may convert into what is called as malignancy. And when it converts into a malignancy, it is generally going to be a very aggressive format. So hepatitis B is one of the leading cause of hepatic cancer, and also steatohepatitis called as NASH, non-alcoholic fatty steatohepatitis. So this is basically seen in patients even if non-alcoholic, because of obesity and all. There'll be a lot of liver storage of fats, and this liver storage of fats will lead to what is called as steatohepatitis, also called as fatty liver. Normally, if you get an ultrasound done, you can see you'll have a report saying there is fatty liver grade 1. Is all because of the obesity as a factor. Because of this, what is going to happen is this can later lead to what is called as non-alcoholic steatohepatitis, and this leading to what is called as malignancy. Now, in the Indian scenario, NASH is the common cause of malignancy, followed by hepatitis infection and then metastasis. Hepatitis B infection and then hepatitis C is even dangerous, because there's almost 20 to 30% chance of hepatitis C carrier turning out into liver malignancy in the later date. So hepatitis A is only slow and indolent. It cannot it generally does not cause malignancy, whereas hepatitis B is very aggressive, may cause malignancy at a very early age. And also, hepatitis B carriers should be careful, and they should use their medications to keep the hepatitis viral load under control, and also not let this viral load spread over. So that is about the liver. There is no particular screening protocol for liver. It is just any symptoms if they develop, like jaundice, pain abdomen, or some mass that is palpable. These are the only screening methods for what is called as liver cancers. It's not meant for screening, but most of the times. And remember one thing: screening is a word that's typically used in patients who actually have got what is called as no symptoms of any cancer. There should be no symptoms of cancer, because symptoms of cancer are not there, that patients will be screened. If there is a symptoms of cancer, the treatment here is not to screen the patient, it is to cure the patient. So any symptom free patient, you will come into the hospital, get themselves checked for any of the symptoms, for any of the signs of malignancy. And if there are no signs of malignancy, well and good. If there are signs of malignancy, they have to be evaluated and further treatment has to be given. Can cancer come as can cancer come as hereditary? Yes, cancer does come as hereditary. Cancer can come from one generation to other generation, and mostly what you can see is in breast cancer, etc. Most commonly they are genetic. About 5% of breast cancers are genetic, and because of that, from one generation to next generation they spread. And as we have already discussed, the screening for these genetic cancers should begin 10 years prior to the previous history of cancer. And please, there are so many methods of cancer screening. Please follow a standard of breast self-examination, followed by mammogram, and then what is called as some needle test, either FNAC core needle or this thing. Then colon cancer. Colon cancers are again very difficult to screen. Only for mild symptoms of colon cancer, like what is called as bleeding per rectum, etc., are there. They have to be checked. So you have got bleeding per rectum, or also difficulty in passing urine, or any of these symptoms are there, or not able to pass food properly. There will be symptoms of what is called as pencil-like stools, where you have very thin built stools that come out. So all these stools, all these things are the common symptoms that you see in what is called as malignancies pertaining to colon, and there is a lot of genetic history or hereditary related to what is called as colon cancer. In colon cancer, one should also remember few other things like right-sided colon cancer and left-sided colon cancers can be genetic, and also there could be severe loss of anemia. When there is severe loss of anemia, what is going to happen is there will be a lot of blood loss from the rectum because of this cancer, and patient will be very difficult to what is called as screen the patient and also to find out what is the actual cause. So here I have a question. Mother was diagnosed with ovarian cancer in October 2017. Minister passed away in 2020 due to sepsis after chemotherapy. And mother's sister also died due to cancer. I have one sister and one brother. What precautions should be taken by us to prevent? So first thing is a very tricky question. uh, I wouldn't say I wouldn't say much about this because number one, suppose your sister or your brother, whatever it is, they have got cancer. They have got any symptoms of cancer. They have to get screened. Mostly in ovarian cancer is associated with also with breast cancer. So you have to get screened for breast and ovary both. Even though the brother is a male, there is also a chance of prostate and malignant melanoma and pancreatic cancer. They also have to be taken care of. I wouldn't recommend any genetic testings for them. I would rather recommend what is called as careful surveillance and careful screening and timely screening for what is called as these lesions, because what is going to happen is if you get screened, so you can detect the case at a very early stage, and you should be like in ovary, you should get an ultrasound scan done 10 years prior to the previous generation, and also get an ultrasound scan, and also what is called a CA-125 blood levels. Blood levels, tumor markers play a very important role in order to find out what is the early stage of cancers, and also find out, it will be a surrogate marker for how much amount of cancer is there in circulation and how much amount of cancer is actually present, and if the quantity of cancer pertaining will be helpful with which is called as which is help of this tumor markers. So he is supposed to take a lot of precautions. Number one, get a scanning done regularly, the frequent intervals of 3 to 6 months to see if there's any new lesion, and also the levels of CA-125, ca- uh, carbohydrate antigen 125 levels, in order to actually find out what is there in that cancer, whether what is the quantity of the cancer, and if there is anything suspicious, that in all these things you will be subjected to what is called a CT scan abdomen to see how much amount of disease is present in the abdomen and pelvis. So ovarian cancer, even if it is metastatic, it is still requires chemotherapy first, followed by surgery. There will be even metastatic situation. There are few situations where the cure can be achieved, but there is a very high chance of recurrence in ovarian tumors. So they have to be screened so that early stage cancers can be caught up very early and adequate treatment can be done. So then we have also discussed about colon cancer as we are going through the colon cancer. So what happens is genetic predisposition really makes a big fact, and there are Bethesda and guidelines, and also guidelines from what is called as NCCN, which will tell how are you going to screen them, when to screen them, when not to screen them. Screening for them starts by age of 50, and after 50 years of age, every 5 years they would recommend one colonoscopy, a virtual colonoscopy or a normal colonoscopy, in order to know what is called as where all is the cancer present, or is there any changes pertaining to cancer that is occurring in the colon. So whenever there is any changes in the cancer particular occurring in the colon, they have to be evaluated immediately, and appropriate care should be taken for in order to cure the patient. So apart from these, there are other cancers in the female genital organs, namely ovary, endometrium, namely ovary, endometrium, etc., that are present. Especially in the ovary, what is going to happen is in the ovary, as we have already discussed, those are things. Other important factor that we help in screening is what is called as cervix. Cervix is again has got like a breast cancer. They have got a very slow, indolent growth habit. Like they don't grow immediately; they grow very slowly. And by the time the HPV, human papilloma virus, will get infects the cervix and also cause all these malignancies, by the time they're diagnosed, they go into a later stage. They by the time they're diagnosed, they can be diagnosed at a very early stage with the help of screening. And these cancers, for them to become malignant, for them to become aggressive, for them to become bigger in size, it's going to take quite a lot of time. Because they take quite a lot of time, there is a role of screening in this group of patients also, typically the cancer cervix patients. So in cancer cervix patients, what we do is we do a typical examination starting from the age when they're sexually active, so probably around 25 to 26 years, and you have to screen them up to 30 years yearly. After that, you can screen them till they're sexually almost till they are sexually active. I think we can screen them every yearly. After that, we can decrease the frequency if there are three consecutive samples of pap smear are negative. Papillary stain or papillary spear is the one that is done for carcinoma cervix, where over the cervix, near the rim of the cervix, you take a small lesion out, take a small scraping out, and then that is examined under a microscope. So once you examine under a microscope, if there is anything that is suspicious of cancer, you can get it tested. And second important thing that you should remember is cervix can be normal. Then what you do is it's called as a aceto white stain that you put acetic acid 3% over that, and you wait for some time. So some areas of that cervix area will become whitish in color. That whitish areas have to be biopsied. You have to take a piece from those white areas and then get them tested. And that time you will know exactly whether there is any cancer or this thing. So screening should always, there's a different aging age for every screen. Like breast cancers are 45 years of age, colon is at 50 years of age, cervix around 25 years of age. And there are different ages for different this thing depends on the inciting factors. So in cancer cervix, the inciting factor is increase in intercourse and what is called as sexual habits and poor hygiene over the cervical area and etc. So there, what is the thing is in sexually active phase, sexually active group is the most important thing, that that is the age group which causes it. Yes, we are supposed to change it, we are supposed to end it. Cancer is something that we are supposed to screen at a very early stage, find it out at a very early stage, catch hold of it, cut it off by the neck, chop it off by the neck, remove and kill everything in cancer. And only then what is going to happen is we're going to get proper cure from cancer, and all the people will be cancer free. So our main this thing is I can and I will, even if the patient has got the motto of this year's this thing is I will and I can, I will. So the point here one should know is even if you are affected, there is good amount of treatment right now. Okay, even if there is affected, even metastatic breast cancers right now have got good amount of cure. Even metastatic colon cancer right now has got a lot of cure. Even metastatic other cancers like oral cavity, thyroid, etc., they've got good cure right now. Previously, when you people say it is metastatic, it means that people would think that their life is done, they cannot get cured, they'll only die anytime. There's no point keeping the patient at home, they can just put him on something. But nowadays it's not like that. Even metastatic cancers have got good chance of cure, and so good that patient will be almost normal. Even metastatic lung right now are trying to put, with the help of this new immunotherapy and also monoclonal antibodies, what we are doing is we are catching cancers even though it is a late stage. We are using the medications and controlling the disease, keeping the disease under control rather than letting it spread all over the body. And this is really helping us to keep the cancers and all in a calm state. Second, another important cancer in the pelvis is what is called as prostate, commonly seen in males. Again, prostate has got a very slow growing tumor. Remember, the one point that you should remember at prostate is if the patient is surviving for more than 10 years, like if life expectancy is more than 10 years from the date of diagnosis, only then we treat the patient. That shows how indolent the growth is. So in 10 years, the cancer will not grow much. So generally in prostate cancer, only if the patient is in the early age, we're going to treat early stage, we can treat by surgery. Late stages, we keep what is called as chemoradiotherapy and also what is called as therapy in the form of hormonal therapies. So in prostate cancer, one should remember is prostate cancer is again a very slow growing tumor by the time, from the time of diagnosis, from the time of inciting factors like testosterone, etc. But to the time they develop metastasis, there is a very slow growth, about 10 to 15%. 10 to 15 years is the time that it takes from them to from a single stage to a stage where so much of cancer is there. Mostly they'll be asymptomatic. Patient will not even realize until one day they have got some back pain or spread to other parts of the body or metastasis. So in case when they spread to metastasis or this thing, what is going to happen is patient will feel very lethargic, weak, severe backache, not able to walk, lying down on the bed continuously. All these will be the common symptoms for what is called as metastatic prostate. And most of the prostate cancer patients, they present at that age. So treatment of them would be to catch what is the stage. That is done by what is called as the blood test, which is called as PSA levels, and also a biopsy with the help of transrectal guided ultrasound biopsy. Transrectal ultrasound guided biopsy, trust guided biopsy, where you take a piece of the prostate gland with the help of transrectal ultrasound. You localize where the prostate gland is exactly at the prostate gland. We'll take a biopsy of it. And because we take a biopsy of it, what we're going to do is, so we're going to take a biopsy of it, and that biopsy will tell us what the cancer is, and also will also tell how much amount of which stage it is. So based on that, we'll take the testing. So cancer screening, cancer screening is a very important protocol. Cancer screening is a very important method, and then cancer screening really helps in what is called as catching cancer at a very early stage and treating the cancer patients. So in today's thing of World Cancer Day, our main aim would be to get yourself screened as per your age, as per your treatment, as per your family history. Get, if there is anything suspicious, please get yourself screened, get the diagnosis of cancer done at a very early stage, treat the patient, and I will and I can. Yes, we can go through the treatment. It is not tough, and we have got good treatment options right now. And me as a surgical oncologist, from my side, I've got a good amount of team and people, and we're going to treat out and help you out. And from the point of Medibuddy, the oncologist team, we're going to help all the patients for cancer and also the treatment, and at least guide them for whatever the appropriate care can be given. Thank you. Goodbye.
Download the Medibuddy app now. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for more updates.